Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate taking the time and love the massive time difference and trying to work that out.
I think it's worse for you than it is for me.
Yeah, you've definitely got the glamorous end of the deal here.
I've got a lovely sunset behind me and you've got a sunrise. So I think I got the
Yeah,
better end of it.
yeah, you definitely absolutely did. So, tell me, what does it feel like hearing the bio that I just read out?
I often have to supply my bio to people in my line of work. And every time it gets read out, I wonder if they're reading the right thing. I cannot believe that all those things are true and that I've got to live this life. When I think of myself as, 18, 19, 20-year-old Amy, if she had known what was coming and that this was all possible, then she would have been a very happy and maybe slightly more confident young woman.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the truth, right? We look back
Yeah,
now and it's like all these, like we were just saying, all these cliches where it, they're just so true. When you think, oh my God, like, why did I ever not think that? Why didn't I appreciate myself in that way? And it's craziness. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's what an incredible career, what an incredible life that you've been living in so many different contrasting countries and experiences. It's mind blowing.
yeah. No, I'm very lucky. I also worked very hard to get where I am. And many of those experiences have been delightful and wonderful, and some of them have been horrifically hard. So a real mixed bag.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess also in that way, it's like when life is really linear and nothing is moving and changing, it feels, I think, really stuck. Also, there is something that goes with the cycles, right?
I mean, I dream of linear. Linear sounds linear sounds really
A
cool.
dream.
Like that sounds so nice and predictable and controllable and easy. So something about that sounds really appealing. But I know that that's not it's not what my life has been. It's highly likely that's not what my life will be. So you just got to ride those ups and downs, I think.
Yeah, you're a lot of series of threes. So like every person would be
Yes.
a three.
Yes, yes. The number three does permeate my life many times, and the fact that we go on it, we've gone on posting for 3 years. It's like that's my measure. So everything is in 3-year installments, and that's how I plan my life.
Yeah. Oh, there must be something numerology wise in a three as well. I don't know that.
Maybe.
I'll have to look that one up. Yeah. But thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you entirely also up to you as we were talking, but thinking about the journey that we were discussing,
Yeah.
feel free to share or not share whatever you like. But what do you think what's the one truth that you have come to know on the other side of that journey? And is there a word or a metaphor or a cliche that sums it up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is probably important to talk a little bit about the
Sure.
particular event because I think, unfortunately for me, it's not the your sort of singular horrible traumatic thing that's happened to me. There have been many in my life, but the response that I've had to this one has been slightly different, and so I think it's important to just articulate that story a little bit. So about a year ago, I had a serious accident while I was on a holiday with my family on the south coast of Australia. I was hit by a very large rogue wave in a swimming pool that was an ocean pool, and it sucked me out of the pool and threw me onto the rocks and very rough ocean below. And I broke some vertebrae and some ribs and was paralyzed from the chest down. My family were with me that day. My sister, my partner, my brother in law, my two nieces, who were all on the beach and watched the whole thing unfold.
Mm.
Um, and my partner and my brother-in-law and some very brave strangers from the beach ran in and yanked me out of the water because I could not move. All I could do was take a breath every time a wave hit me. I was rushed to hospital. I had surgery very, very quickly. And I had some very impressive hardware installed in my back. I've got two metal poles and about 20 metal screws up the length of my spine. But fortunately, my spinal cord was not severed. It was only
Mm,
compressed. So they were able to relieve that pressure pretty quickly. And then within a couple of days of being in the intensive care unit, the doctors told me that they thought I'd make a full recovery and that I would walk again and would have a normal life. So that was the accident. And when I think about something that I would use to summarize that experience, and it's so interesting that you actually mentioned this word before. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting that you already talked about this. For me, the sentiment that sums up my experience is that things that felt impossible
mm.
have become possible.
Oh God, it gives me the gives me the
And
shivers.
yeah, I mean that in the most basic sort of sense, in that when I was under the water, when I was in the waves and I couldn't move my body, and my brain told me, all you can do right now is breathe. And so that's all I did was breathe. And when I
Mm,
was sitting in the hospital, there's this an image that often comes back to me. I was lying in the ICU when I had 100 cords coming out of me. I couldn't move. I was in tremendous pain. My back had just been opened up. And there were glass walls everywhere in the ICU. And across the hall from me, there was a woman who was about, I'm guessing, 60, 70 years old. She had long grey hair and she was sitting there, sitting upright in bed with her legs crossed, drinking a cup of tea. And I remember lying there completely immobile and racked with pain and just thinking, how is she doing that?
mm.
How is she sitting up? That's amazing. I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm never going to be able to sit up myself. I'm never going to be able to like hold a cup of tea and drink it. Like that's sort of the level of the physical limit I was under.
Yeah.
Um, but then, within 2 weeks, I was doing laps around the ward. Like if someone had told me that that was possible, I probably wouldn't have believed them.
Mm,
But turns out it was. And I can apply that metaphor to so many points of the journey that I've gone through, from being able to sit up and have a cup of tea in bed to being able to move to the Solomon Islands less than a year, 6 months after I had my accident, and resume my life and resume my job. Like all of these things were impossible to me. They have become possible with the passing of time. So that's what I think about when I think about this particular journey, is that you can overcome it.
mm. Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like Pollyanna about it. I don't want to be like, the cliche thing, like anything is possible. Like, some things aren't. My life is different. I live with chronic pain. I live with a ladder in between me and any surface that's behind me. Like, there are some things I will never be able to do again. But I can sit up in bed and I can have a cup of tea. So,
Oh my God, Amy, there's literally so many questions that are now just racing through my mind there. But one thing that really struck me, you said that when you were lying there and your brain said the one thing you can do is keep breathing. And sometimes that's it, isn't it? It's just focusing on what is the one thing that I can do right now in my
yeah.
life that's
Oh, it's exactly like Anna says in Frozen 2, the next right thing. Many, many nieces in my life. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Okay, what's next? In that moment,
yeah,
it was breathing. The next
yeah,
week, it was sitting. The next week, it was taking a step. The next week, it was having a bowel movement. The next week, it was and so on and so on. And it's like this pebble that, it gets larger and larger the more it sort of expands out in that body of water. And
yeah,
over time, you're suddenly doing things that you never thought you'd be able to.
yeah. I mean, that's amazing. But I don't think it is a cliche. Like literally, the anything is possible is the driver for why I do what I do now, because I do truly believe that the life that we always want. I mean, obviously, there's with an accident, etc. There's different things that go with that, but in general, the life that we want is always there if we are willing to take action and move towards it. But I guess sorry, I've lost my blooming train of thought now. There was a question in there. There was a question in there for you. Um, but I do really love that as a sentiment to hold that anything is possible. And when you were talking, several points of that, I just feel really struck by this, almost like a micro moment in time that changes everything, but then also somehow turns again to, in an adjusted way, in a different way, give you your life back also.
It's a process and it's a framework you can apply. So in that moment, take the breath, take the step. It's the next thing. But if you actually use that as a way to sort of govern and guardrail your life, it actually gives you a pretty clear pathway for how you can choose to respond and react to certain things, and the way you carry yourself and the way you make decisions and the way you summon your courage. And if you just agree to maybe just do one thing
Mm.
extra or one thing new, or maybe consider that even though it is impossible today, it might be possible tomorrow, then I think that's a good approach. Yeah.
And it's simple as well, isn't it? Because it cuts away all the nonsense, it cuts away all the bullshit, and it's like, what's the one thing that I can do now? What is that one? What's that one thing? And just keep moving from. I mean, it obviously also sounds incredibly simple. It must have been very hard at that point to believe that there was another one thing that you could keep doing and moving with.
Well, I don't think if you sort of line up all the things that I knew I had to do, i.e., learn to walk again, get out of hospital, somehow find the energy to go back to work, to do a job that's physically demanding, to be a good partner, to be a good aunt, to be a good sister, all those things together, that was too much. When I thought about the massive journey that was ahead of me, that was overwhelming. And I think, yeah, breaking it up into sort of more consumable bite sizes is
Yeah.
a little bit more pragmatic.
Yeah, but it also makes it feel doable, doesn't it? When it's literally, it's not, it's not like you say, like the whole process that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, okay, one, where are we at? What am I doing? How does that look? And what's going on there?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how long do you think at that point, how long do you think it took to sort of really feel believable that anything is possible?
I still don't, I'm still coming to terms with what happened to me, I think.
Mm,
And it does sound a little like, even when I say it out loud, even when I just said it to you, it sounds way too cheerleadery. I don't know. I think I'm still working through that. I
mm,
think it was micro moments. It
mm,
wasn't like a sudden reckoning or a sudden revelation. Oh, anything's possible. It was
yeah.
like tiny little bullets of proof. Like those first few steps I took, I was like, oh, okay, I will accept that I might be able to walk again. I will accept that that's possible. But there's
Mm,
no way in hell I'm ever going to be able to do this and this and this and this and this and then catastrophize everything and feel very sad and depressed and angry about it. But it was like continuous little micro reminders of that possibility. And
mm.
it sort of built over time and collectivized over time. And I found myself believing it and buying into it more and more. And I think it's only in hindsight that when you asked that question and I thought about it, that's where I landed, that things that felt impossible have become possible. Because I don't think that was something that I felt at the time. And it was
Mm.
only after having gone through all of those things that I started to feel that way.
And I guess, yeah, sorry, sorry, the pun in that way, but it's like at that point, it literally is putting one foot in front of the other. And if it's one step today, it's two tomorrow, it's three. Maybe it goes back to one, but you keep going and you keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as you said, you're already a year later. What did that middle part look like and feel like at that time? How did you keep going?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm a poster child for a healthy way of dealing with trauma. My particular brand of dealing with trauma is to squash it down to the furthest recess of my soul, pretend like it didn't happen, nothing to see here, everything's fine, we're moving on, okay? Yeah, like I was just so determined to get over it as quickly as I possibly could and get back to my life. Because I loved
Yeah,
my life. I was perfectly happy and the happiest that I had been in such a long time. I was so annoyed that this happened because, things were finally really clicking and falling into place, and I was genuinely content. So I was so pissed off that this
yeah,
happened. I didn't need any reminders of what my sister calls, she always says, we didn't need any reminders of how precious our lives are. We've had plenty. And so my approach was just like, okay, we're done. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And now we can just move forward and be completely happy again.
yeah.
So I don't think I really allowed myself to fully feel um, the pain, the anger, and the unfairness of that whole thing and the randomness of that whole thing because I was just
Mm,
so determined to move on. So
yeah,
when I said before that I said I'm still coming to terms with what happened to me, I think that's what I'm coming to terms with.
yeah,
I've had this wonderful physical recovery. I'm walking, I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm dancing. People look at me, they have no idea. I tell them my story and they are flabbergasted because you wouldn't tell there was anything wrong with me. And then they see this scar on my back and they're like, holy crap, what happened to you? Which, yeah, it's hot in the Solomon Islands and people aren't as polite as they are back home.
yeah,
But yeah, I think how I dealt with it was just to run through it as quickly as I
yeah.
could. And maybe I should have slowed down a bit more and let myself really heal in a much more healthy and kind way.
And there's also somehow going back to that one thing, it's almost like, was that a point where it's like, actually, first I need to physically heal, and then maybe that's something that comes later. There's one thing, what can I do right now? I need to physically rebuild my life.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think at the time and this sort of very, very acute period, those first few months, I didn't have the mental or emotional capacity to be dealing with that side of it. All I had the energy to do was have physical recovery. I was very aware of that. And my sister is a clinical psychologist. So she was on this from, the moment it
Yeah,
happened. And she was like, you have to feel it, you have to talk about it. I'm like, I know, but that's just going to go in a box over there until we're ready to
yeah,
open that box. Because right now I'm dealing with this problem.
yeah,
Yes, that physical problem rather than that emotional problem. Yeah, which kind of fed that whole approach I was taking with just like, let's just get through this as fast as we possibly can. I kept waiting for that box to open itself. It didn't really. I mean, apart from apparently I was having some panic attacks in the very early days in the ICU. I would start shaking uncontrollably and couldn't breathe properly. And it tended to happen every time a medical professional came in the room. And I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. This is very strange. And my sister was like, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, no, I
yeah,
don't do that. I don't, my body doesn't do that. And my brain is smart enough to tell my body not to do that. But to open itself, it didn't really. I mean, apart from apparently I was having some panic attacks in the very early days in the ICU. I would start shaking uncontrollably and couldn't breathe properly. And it tended to happen every time a medical professional came in the room. And I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. This is very strange. And my sister was like, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, no, I
yeah,
don't do that. I don't, my body doesn't do that. And my brain is smart enough to tell my body not to do that. but I'm pretty certain that's what was actually happening. But that only lasted a few days and then they went away. As I said, I think it's only really been around that sort of 1 year anniversary where I've let myself feel a little more open to talking about the emotional trauma of that, not just the
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? It's like everything is. I don't know why I always kind of come to a Harry Potter. I'm not even a massive fan, but when you look at Voldemort and he parts off all of himself with these Horcruxes. I don't know if you know Harry Potter.
I'm following you. Yep, keep
Yeah,
going.
but he separates himself off into all of these Horcruxes and he throws them as far apart as possible. And that's what he's evil and he's the baddie, but that's what gives him the strength. And actually, when all Harry Potter, his journey is finding all of those and destroying them, because when he comes back together as a whole somehow, that's when he's vulnerable. And actually, that's part of our journey as well, isn't it? That coming back as that whole, being vulnerable and being open and feeling whole again.
Yeah, I guess I love that we're talking about Harry Potter and Frozen in this context of this
Yeah.
conversation. And I think that is highly appropriate. I think for me, I didn't really see it as like separate parts of myself and gathering them all up at the end. I kind of felt like it was just a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It was just like survival,
Yeah.
shelter, food. And then at the very bottom of that pyramid is emotional well-being. uh,
Yeah.
but I think what I'm learning is perhaps we need to flip that triangle upside down a little bit and yeah, sort of just not be quite so focused on the I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm perfect. Um, it's okay to say that you aren't.
Yes.
Um, and that part of yourself is allowed to be made public. And that when you do that, Hermione and I don't know, the other characters will come around you and
Yeah, exactly.
and help you and love you and support you. And
Yeah.
Ron, is that his name? Right,
Is
okay.
it Ron?
Hermione and
Yes,
Ron
it
will
is.
come.
Yeah. Yeah. Hermione and Ron. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Your dream team are going to be there with you.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a really good point in that way. Who, obviously, you had acute things that you were going through at that time. And how did the people who were around you, like for them also, who were with you on the day and obviously with you on your recovery,
Mhm.
it's a huge life-changing part for all of you.
Oh, absolutely. This did not happen to me. This happened to so many people. And it's funny because I feel like, in a way, it has affected those that love me more. Sorry, it affected those who love me the most more than it affected me because they saw it happen and they
Mm,
witnessed my pain and were scared that they would lose me.
yeah.
I didn't see this happen.
Mm,
I never thought for a second that, I wouldn't walk, even though there was that possibility. I was like, no, this actually is not conceivable to me. But I think in some ways it was harder for the people that loved me than it was for me.
mm, yeah.
And I think that's partly also because I'm like, okay, we're fine, we're moving on.
They're like,
That might have something to do with that.
they're like, no,
Yeah.
back up a little second here, Amy. There's some things that have
Yeah.
gone on. Yeah.
No, my
Yeah.
family have struggled and in their own ways. My brother-in-law and my partner had their own injuries. My sisters and my extended family, my close friends, my Canberra family that I call them. Yeah, they all went through this with me in some ways far worse than I did.
Yeah. I guess in that way, it's almost like you had a focus, whereas they were like almost they got the helicopter view of everything. That
Mm.
the initial witness and then
Mm.
witnessing your journey on the other side of it, and I guess obviously probably wanting to be strong for you and
I think for them it was outward. It was like you could see the body, you could see me, you could see the pain, you could see the hospital building, the drives every day, the food collection, the letters to family. Like it was a very external experience, but for me it was entirely internal.
Mm.
I was living inside my brain mostly, I would say,
Mm.
during that period, and just like
Yeah,
constantly thinking about how I'm going to get better and what I need to do to fix this. And it was a very internal experience for me.
yeah. And I don't know why, and maybe this is not relevant for you. When you were saying that, it just struck me something you were saying about when you were when you were in Baghdad, being
Mm,
in those compounds, and it's very insular, everything looks the same.
mm,
Was there any, yeah, did that, any draws or parallels between that?
absolutely. It's really interesting you say that. Yeah, I think for you to be able to be happy in a place like Baghdad and living on compounds, you have to have a very rich internal life and a vivid imagination that takes you out and above and far, far away. And I think that's a real skill of mine, is to be able to sit in some, pretty horrible and challenging parts of the world, um, and be able to sort of, yeah, use my brain and my creativity and my imagination to create joy in life in those sorts of places.
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, it's almost like there's always a green shoot of something somewhere.
Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
And
and that may be part of that, why that metaphor of what feels impossible becomes possible. That's imagination.
yeah,
That's what that is. That's
yeah,
that's creativity. That's hope. That is taking yourself out of your current situation via the
mm,
power of your brain to
yeah,
something else.
yeah. Daring to believe
Mm.
that there is something, there is another possibility. And was there was there a point, any point where you were just like, this is just not working, like this is just not going to happen?
No. Um, no, as I said, like even like in those first few days when we weren't actually sure if I was going to walk again, I didn't believe that. Like, even though I was deeply concerned about it, I still, there was something in the back of my mind that didn't quite let me believe that. Now, whether that is absolute pure denial and a complete detachment from reality, or whether that is my intrinsic ability to be hopeful,
Mm,
I don't know. Maybe it's the combination of the two, but there was no point in my journey in the last 12 months where I didn't think I was going to be okay.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, I also see
Yeah.
that in a different way, that is that also that an innate connection to yourself, that you felt that actually, no, this isn't it. I am not having
Maybe
this.
it's just, I think that, yeah, that's definitely part of it. I'm like, I'm not having this. This is unacceptable to me. This is not what I ordered. Um, but I also think it was probably just a honed skill.
Yeah.
I've been through some other sort of pretty horrible things in my life. And there were times previously where I was not that confident, where I didn't feel that I was going to make it, where I did feel like I didn't have hope, and where I did feel hopeless. And they were different contexts, and they weren't necessarily about a physical recovery, which is very much what this was about. So I have had those feelings before where I have like thought, no, I don't think I can get through this. But I didn't have those feelings for this one, and I'm wondering now what it was about me or my life, to allow me to have that different reaction this time.
Yeah. I think everything shapes us, doesn't it? Like the way where we are, it takes us to one place and we learn something different, we evolve and we move.
Change to allow me to have that different reaction this time.
Yeah. I think everything shapes us, doesn't it? Like the way where we are, it takes us to one place and we learn something different, we evolve and we move on. And it's almost like that sometimes we keep building that, we keep pouring into that emotional resilience that we have, so that I think sometimes that every time something happens, we don't fall as far because we've built up that emotional resilience and our cup is fuller. That it's like, okay, what do I do with this? How do, in your, like you, like, no, this is not happening. I am not accepting this.
Yeah, no, I definitely think emotional resilience is a skill. And I think
Mm,
it's something you can practice. I think some people might be better at it than others, and might not have to try as hard. But I still think it's something you can build and develop over time. I mean, you don't want to be tested too much, do you? You don't want to become a super expert, a super resilience person, because that's kind of maybe what I've been doing the last year, is
yeah.
becoming a little bit too resilient and not like keeping a bit of that soft underbelly. I think is also useful as well. Or maybe it was just turning 40. I don't know.
I mean,
A
I don't
magical
think,
number.
yeah, I don't think, yeah, a lot of people really with 40 think, oh no, this is just terrible. It's a number, isn't it? And 40 is the new 30
That's it.
is where I'd go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting what you were saying there about the everybody else who was coming along on that, who has come along on that journey with you. And do you think there has that changed any of those relationships?
With my brother-in-law, I think he has been in our family um, for as long as I can remember. He he and my sister started dating when they were like, I don't know, 12 or something ridiculous. I don't know. And so he's always been in my life as a boy, as a teenager, as a young man. He jumped into that water and put his own life at risk in
Mm,
front of his wife and two girls. Feel tethered physically and emotionally to him because he was the first one to get to me. So funny that word just came into my head, tethered, and he tethered himself to me. And then my partner got to me, and both of them somehow managed to get me. My gratitude and my love for my brother-in-law has increased. And I think the love I have for my partner and my two sisters, though I loved them very much, and I was already as close as I could be to those people, I don't think that has changed. It has just reconfirmed that love and that they are in my life. But I think the unexpected uptake in love has been for my brother-in-law, because even though we were very close, and he's, as I said, he's my brother-in-law and he's been part of my family so long.
isn't it? And I guess it's things that nobody ever wishes to know how you would respond or how you would react. That somebody did that, and that's a connection that you will have for life.
Man, my brother-in-law and my partner, they saved my life that day, and that's a factoid you never quite forget.
It's literally, as you said earlier, it's like things don't happen to one person in, I'm paraphrasing now, but in isolation. It's a whole collective, isn't it? That it makes us realize more that we are not alone. We are
Yeah.
part of something bigger.
Well, the beauty of crisis and trauma is that it illuminates. Oh, this sounds so hicky. When you go through something like this, you're like, holy shit! Oh, so much love. A horrible way to spend a minute alone in that hospital. I was there for 6 weeks. It's just a line of people outside the door to come and spend time with me and comfort me and tell me that they loved me all over the world that I hadn't seen for years. Didn't think, people thought of me that much, but like the messages that I got from, the far corners of the world was just, that was such a lovely thing. I think
Mm.
being reminded of the fact that you were loved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember something I was thinking when you were talking there. That's one of my lasting sort of memories or something that I knew about you in Dhaka was you were always very close to your family. You spoke about them a lot. You were always, especially with your nieces, there was lots of things that you were always planning to do and go, and that always sticks in my mind. So it's Amy, it's like family, Amy, family. But
Yeah. Well, one thing that is not in my bio is world's greatest auntie. So maybe we should add that.
we'll just correct that right there. Don't you worry, Amy. We'll put that in because you really always went that extra mile. Like you are so involved, invested, and present. Yeah, it was always clear that it was such a huge part of. I remember I don't go on Facebook very often, and I remember your post was at the top of my feed, and I remember just thinking, oh my God, like this is unbelievable. Like how, yeah. So even as a very far distant bystander, outstander, whatever you want to call it, it felt so visceral to see and read about that news. It felt really shocking that
Yeah.
being
Because
in
it's
the
not
mix.
supposed to happen, right?
No, no,
Yeah. That's not supposed to happen. That are close to me and love me and have been involved in my life know that there have been many sad things that have happened. Um, Again, seriously, like you've had your three, you're done your three, like you're done. Like now the rest of your life is going to be pure joy and happiness. And the fact that that's not true, for people, I think that happens every time something bad happens to someone. They're like, no, this was not part of the plan, and this is so unfair. And it, did we sign anything that said that life would be fair? And that's a bitter pill to swallow. It's true.
yeah. And what's now, obviously, a year later, what's the taking? What do you take from it that you're like that? This is a learning for me, and this is for my life moving forwards.
Yeah, it's funny how often I get asked that question. It's like when something bad happens to you, you have to have some sort of revelatory.
Yeah,
What I'm slowly getting my head around is that, and just like white knuckling it. Maybe it's okay to stop. Maybe it's okay to be slow, be a bit more present, be a bit more vulnerable, be a bit more in pain, ask for a bit more help. I'm slowly coming to terms with it. I'm slowly formulating some views around that. Once you get through that sort of immediate acute phase of trauma, it's like, okay, well, what's the lesson and how do I improve and how do I go forward and be happier and healthier? And I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I think it has something to do with and being a little less perfect, broken,
yeah,
because I am.
yeah,
I'm broken in half, emotionally too. Yeah, there has been much pain in my life, and you can't just be expected to be glistening and sparkly and everything's fine. So I think maybe it's around some of those words that I just ineloquently put
yeah.
in a row.
No, I like it. I think there's so much in that there are a lot of life lessons, right? Just learning to accept the all of those different things. That's a huge life lesson right there.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, being on the other side of it, now you're in the beautiful Solomon Islands with permanent sunshine. Um, what's different for you now? What's the next? What's the forward motion?
What context you're talking about? I think physically, not live the physical life that I used to live. There are some things I can't do anymore. Things about living in the Solomon Islands is to get on a banana boat and go island hopping, because jostling around up and down on a tiny boat. So there's a lot of limitations on what I can do physically with my body. There's a lot of limitations in how I choose to walk around the world as well. I really do feel like with this accident, I played my Joker card times when I cross the road now instead of once, because I just can't move around the world with that same level of carefreeness that I used to. So that's a little different. I am trying to be more slow and to feel things a bit more, not too much, rather than just continually focusing on getting to the next thing, doing the next thing, making the next achievement, getting that promotion, getting that posting,
Mm.
trying to sort of sit with some of those uncomfortable linear. Like I
Yeah.
said to you before, like being linear would be lovely, instead of these peaks and troughs, which are really inconvenient. Yeah, so I think it's the knowing that there's restrictions on my body, knowing that there's a sort of more risk mitigants that I have through this
Mm.
experience and through all of the experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because I guess it goes back again to that slowing down, isn't it? The slowing down, being more present, and keep coming back to where you are and where you are able to be right now.
Yeah, and not be quite so forward looking. I was always so, well, I still am, I'm working on it, but so focused on the future and
Yeah.
what was next. And I think I was just perpetually always moving towards something and could never
Mm.
enjoy where I was because
Yeah.
I was always so focused. One thing I've been doing the last few years is I keep a happy thoughts book. Continuing the movie theme, did you ever watch Hook when you were a kid?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies, and the happy thought, the thing that makes them float, the thing that makes them fly. And so I thought, okay, every day I'm going to write something down that is my happy thought for the day.
Yeah.
And I've found that to be a really, really useful practice, and I tell all my family and friends to do the same thing. Journaling, it's sort of not an exploration of feelings and process, but it's just this thing happened today and it was really cool. And I just want
Yeah.
to clock that.
Yeah. And I
And
think
I
there's
think that
something,
encourages presence.
yeah. And that's the thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? We get so stuck moving between the past and the future that we forget about the present. We forget about what's going on right now because actually that's where life is being lived. Life is being
Yeah.
lived right here, right now. We're talking. It's not about, in an hour's time.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to go for dinner. I'm going to have my first coffee. There's these different things, but it's literally what is happening now.
Yes, because you could be literally hit by a wave and sucked through an ocean wall and end up in hospital for 3 months. So yeah, you may as well try and be a little bit more present and enjoy, yeah, what's around you. Have your head sense of perspective, have your sense of gratefulness, and yeah,
Yeah.
just be.
Yeah, just be. And what are you most proud of yourself for in the journey that you have, well, are still in? What would you give
Oh,
yourself happy thoughts for?
oh gosh, that is such an awful question. Proud of the fact that I never lost my sense of humor or my sense of joy, even in my really, really dark moments. I remember being wheeled off to surgery, and I think I put my hand up in the air and said, "Bye, Felicia," or something stupid like that. My girlfriends sneaked champagne into the spinal ward so I could illegally drink alcohol with them. Proud that my relationships have become stronger through this. I'm really proud of my partner and I for getting through a deeply horrible time
Mm.
better and stronger and more in love than we ever have been, because that was hard. And to see him watch me go through that pain and to never leave, I'm so grateful that he never left.
Mm.
Because of my sisters and me, because we do this all without a mother.
Mm.
To continually get hit by life's waves, and for us to still love and support each other the way we do, I'm so proud of us as well. So yeah, let's call it humor, joy, love, and sisterhood.
Oh, I love that, Amy. That's amazing. And I feel really. Do you know the Japanese art of kisugi?
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I was thinking of that when you were talking, and life breaks, it changes, and we can put it back together. And there's a gold thread that runs through things, that
Mm.
it's beautiful again, but it's different, but it's whole again.
Yeah. Well, there's your word. Okay. So the very first question you asked me to identify a
Yeah.
metaphor or a sort of sentiment or a word. And I very easily could identify some sentences and some coming up for a word was nearly impossible. I couldn't think of a word, but there you go. There's that. That'll do.
Yes. Okay, we'll go with that. Oh my God, Amy, thank you so much. Like, I can't imagine a fraction of what you have been through in the last year, but your strength and your resilience is incredible. That at no point did you doubt that anything was going to be any different. And yeah, you are thriving and living to tell the tale and basking in the eternal sunshine.
Yes, I am the sweaty sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah, but I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share your journey with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.